This is Houston. You're looking good.
Time checker on the horn. Yes, you are. Clear.
We're go for the moon.
Loud and clear.
Take her down.
Here we go, Ben. You ready?
I sure am. Waiting a long time for this.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Only 12 guys have seen this view.
Day 1, DOD mission report.
I gotta document this. Nate says he never snores in his sleep. Now I got proof.
Houston, how does the motion sensor work?
Yeah. We've been experiencing unexplained malfunctions. Look at this. Flag's gone.
Tracks. They aren't ours. They lead away from our section. The mics are picking up interference. I've never heard anything like it.
Restoring communications needs to be priority 1. Without that, we're not going home.
What the hell is going on?
Looks like the hull's insulation is damaged.
Something's moving. Something's inside my suit. Nate!
What happened out there? Infection is spreading. Stop! They took us bomb! This is Apollo 18. Do you copy?
Oxygen's getting low.
Anyone, please!
Something else out here.
Open the hatch.
Oh, God!
Hey everybody, NG5 here, and welcome to Oktoberfest day. What day is it? 18, that's it. And I have been drinking a little bit, but I'm gonna do this review even still because this is the first time I've done a drunk review. Okay, so. In the last video, I got really pissed because I clearly said it quite a few times that if I use someone's clip, I use it for non-profit. And apparently someone got pissed about it. Well, yeah. I just want to say that if I use a clip and someone gets pissed about it, whatever. Anywho. The music you're hearing in the background, it's my official VGM. This is the launch-based zone of Sonic 3. Yes, I got inspiration to use that music by the great Clement who was drunk doing part 6 of Sonic 3. That was it. Anyway, folks, this is Apollo 18, and I did this intentionally because today's the 18th of October. Yeah. This is also supposed to go up an hour and 40 minutes later, but fuck you, I'll do it now. So, let me pull up the clip of the trailer. Because you know who did this. This is from Horror Nymphs. Yes, I am saying that right. Horror Nymphs. That is who posted the trailer, so if Horror Nymphs sees this, I'm only using that for entertainment purposes only, okay? So, let's get into the plot of it. I might not use the whole clip today. I might just do, I might show a couple. Anyway, Apollo 18. What's so special about it? Well, it's a found... Excuse me. It's a found footage horror film. And found footage horror films are honestly not too bad. They kind of got their start. I think what was it with the Paranormal Activity series? That was it. They got their start in the Paranormal Activity series, and yeah, Paranormal Activity. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. So the Paranormal Activity series got its start in what was it, 2007? So there's that going for it, and basically the found footage style bit is basically I know what I want to say. So anyway, found footage. This is what this is. It's a found footage kind of movie, and what that implies is the movie isn't using some fancy schmancy cameras. Okay, it's using basic handheld cameras, and that's where like Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, Grave Encounters kind of fall into that category. Well, not kind of, they do, because they don't use giant ass cameras. Okay, but Apollo 18 is my personal favorite of the found footage movies, mainly because, well, let's get a little historical here for a minute. So, before I do, let me just do the disclaimer one more time. And yes, I actually have been drinking. This is not acting, this is legit drinking. Okay? I wanted to do this because I was so pissed off at what happened in my last live stream. Because some people just can't get the hint that if I do this for entertainment purposes, I'm not stealing. I'm just giving you credit during the live stream that I'm using it for entertainment purposes only, but apparently you just don't get it. So, official VGM and horror nymphs, if you saw your clip or hear the music, I'm using it for fun. I don't know how to make money off YouTube. I'm sorry. I don't know how. Anywho, let's get historical here for a minute. The Apollo space program's been around since, I believe, the early 1960s. Now, unfortunately, it started off with an unfortunate tragedy. And that was because Apollo 1 used pure oxygen in their command module. It was like a simulation, apparently, but I think it was a wiring issue or something. But basically, it burned the whole thing up, and unfortunately, 3 astronauts, they died in the whole incident. So, what they decided to do, NASA anyway, is they decided to do some unmanned experiments. And basically, and I hope that you're hearing the music, basically, Apollo 2 through 7, or was it 6? I can't remember. Apollo 2 through 6 was all about making things better. And, that's all right. You're trying to improve and make things better. Totally fine. There was 7. I'm not sure. Someone else can look it up. Apollo 8, it's all about orbit. They never landed on the moon. That was the same thing with 9 and 10. They're only testing the equipment. That way they can land on the moon eventually. It wasn't until July of 1969, July 20th, 1969, when American astronauts landed on the moon, which is awesome because we beat the Soviets to the moon. That was great. I'm really happy. And then Apollo 12, it launched in a lightning storm and knocked out. The lightning actually killed the 8-ball, which is, I think, some kind of gyroscopic piece of mechanical. I can't remember. It's like a gyroscope, basically. It was a primary gyroscope, and then there was a backup gyroscope and Apollo 12 still landed. Now we all know what happened with Apollo 13. It had some malfunction, and it basically was like Apollo 8, but just on a much more dire situation. 14 through 17, they land safely, and one guy plays golf that was on Apollo 14. Astronaut Alan Shepard plays golf on the moon. Kind of cool, because when you hit the golf ball, the moon gets its own little moon, and yeah. But Apollo 17 was supposed to be the last mission in the whole Apollo space program, and the way things are going today, there's supposed to be a new one. Like, I think it's called SpaceX or the Orion, the Orion space program. It's like it's a Apollo 2.0. Okay. So, Apollo 17. Let me look up for you people when that happened. Okay, give me a sec. Okay, Apollo 17. This was the official last mission for the Apollo space program, and this happened December 7th to 19th of 1972. That's a long time on the moon. Wait, let me double check. Yeah, 12 days. Well, part of that you have to remember was during the whole orbit thing, trying to get from Earth to the moon, and I think like Apollo 15, 16, and 17. Those are supposed to be longer missions, because Apollo 11 was, it was only for 2 days. It was basically a week in space. And then by 17, you're in there for almost 2 weeks. That's a feat all of its own. So, gosh, I'm so drunk right now. I wanted to get drunk because I've seen other YouTubers get drunk while they're doing something like this. So, let me get a little more technical before I get into Apollo 18. Let's just find out, like, what was the name of each of these why am I having so much trouble trying to hold on a second. I know what I'm trying to say. But my hold on a second. LMNC. Okay. Space Camp. There we go. Okay. So each of the command modules, which is where everything took place, and the lunar modules, which would land on the moon, they all had names. So let me get into it here. Give me a second. I can find it. Give me a second. I'm honestly trying to find it because it's kind of interesting how it kind of progressed. Let's okay. Let's see. I wish it would say. Oh, here we go. Okay. So after Apollo 8, this is when it happened. This is the command. Wait, let me look. Command modules. Here we go. So for Apollo 9, it was called Gumdrop, and it's actually on display here in San Diego. Pretty cool. Apollo 10 had Charlie Brown, which is okay. It's called Charlie Brown, not Lion. We actually go in each one. So Apollo 9, this is when the command modules and lunar modules started getting names. Okay, so command module for Apollo 9, if I can find it. Let's see. It was to test the command module and lunar module getting together. Okay, so Apollo 9, the command module was called Gumdrop, and the lunar module was called Spider. Kind of cool. I like this. That sounds pretty cool. Let's go to Apollo 10. Alright, let's see. Oh, click. There we go. Alright, number 10. This was called. Give me a second. I know I've seen it. Oh, here we go. Oh, I like this. It's a Peanuts reference. The command module was called Charlie Brown. Lunar module? Snoopy. Alright. I like that. That's a nice little pop culture reference. Alright, let's get into 11. Call signs. Okay, Columbia was the command module, and Eagle was the lunar module. I like that. That's a nice name. Apollo 12. This is the one that launched in a thunderstorm. That's what I was talking about with the 8-ball being knocked out. So it happened, but they still landed. Yankee Clipper was the command module, and the lunar module was the Intrepid. Let's get on to 13. 13, as some of you might know, Apollo 13 never landed because of an explosion in the oxygen tanks. However, they were able to make it safely. Now, the command module in this name was, I saw it for a split second, Odyssey. Lunar module, Aquarius. And yes, I'm going to go through each one. Number 14, Apollo 14. The command module was named Kitty Hawk. Lunar module, Antares. I like the command module name. That's kind of cool. And yes, they got picked up by different Navy ships, but I'm not going to go into that either. Number 15. This one was called, the command module was called Endeavor. Lunar module, Falcon. Nice. I like this. Alright, 16. This is the second to last one. So, this command module was Casper. The lunar module called Orion. Alright, I like those names. And now for the last one. This is the last manned mission to the moon until, I guess, recent times. I like command module's name is America. Lunar module name, Challenger. Now, as a railroader, I don't know if the lunar module is named after the Union Pacific locomotive of the same name, Union Pacific 3985, but you never know. But let's get into Apollo 18 now. I know I got a little technical, a little historical on you. It's all good. So Apollo 18. Let's get into the skivvy of everything. Okay. So I know a lot of people apparently don't like this movie, but it did a good job. So it's supposed to be a found footage movie, okay? It had a budget of $5 million, and the box office did pretty good. It was a box office success. Made about $26 million, which is pretty good. So it's the whole idea. Give me a second. So the whole idea of this movie, Apollo 17, according to that trailer I showed early on, is that it's supposed to be Apollo 17 is the last manned mission to the moon, which is 1972. However, in 1974, Apollo 18, which originally was canceled due to budget reasons. Alright, I might change the music here in a minute. Let me find something a little more. Let me change it here. Okay, I've changed the music. This is by Blue Blur, and it's Metallic Madness from Sonic Mania. So, let me get into this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but whatever. So, Apollo 18, it came out September 2nd, 2011. And let me actually change it. It's a little. Let me just stop the music. Okay. So that was Blur's music. Anyway, so Apollo 18. Backstory is that Apollo. There were actually going to be, historically speaking, there were going to be 3 Apollo missions: 18, 19, and 20. 20 was supposed to be the last one, and then someone came up and did the whole Apollo 20 like found footage shit, which I'll get into at the end. Okay, but this movie is supposed to take place in 1974. And it's around Christmas time, and the command module's name is Freedom. The lunar module's name is Liberty. Hold on a second. Okay, so let's get into this. And again, if I use any clips from here on out, it's all the original owners. I'm only using them for fucking entertainment purposes or non-profit purposes only. Read the fucking description, you fucking idiots. Anyway, let me show you what's going on. So, in December of 1974, the canceled Apollo mission, it gets greenlit. And some people already have like a little bit of doubts on it, like especially the lunar module pilot guy. He's immediately skeptical about it. Like he knows something's up because instead of like Houston, instead of fuck. It's how do I word this? Okay. Give me a second. So instead of the whole idea that Houston and NASA are oh my gosh. they're Houston has been in charge of the whole Apollo program since the Apollo 11 program or whatever. For some stupid reason, the Department of Defense decides to take over, and the whole idea is the reason why the reason why they're there is because they've been sent up to the moon to use some kind of satellite communications to track any intercontinental ballistic missiles or something. Yeah, I see you. I see you, Yamato 611. I did this intentionally. Like I said earlier, I've seen other YouTubers do this while they're drunk. Don't worry. Once this is over, I plan to take a nap. I do need to get sleep. But yeah. Anyway, let me do my live stream and then I'll go to bed for a little bit. Don't worry, I'm safe. I'm not doing anything stupid other than having a little something to drink. So let's keep going. Okay, let's go. So, where was I? Oh yeah. So the whole premise of Apollo 18 is that in 1974, around Christmas time, the formerly canceled Apollo 18 mission is greenlit, and their whole idea is to go to the moon and use this really, I guess, high powered satellite system. It's something. They're supposed to use a high powered transmission signal thing to lock onto any incoming either, I guess, test or real intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs for short. And it kind of goes well. The first kind of third of the movie, yeah, it's got its humor. I won't lie. Like there is the whole jalapeno dick moment between Nate Walker and Ben Anderson, and that actually had me laughing a little bit because this guy Nate Walker, apparently he's trying to help. He's trying to help his wife, apparently, in cutting up some jalapenos. But I guess he gets some of the juices of the jalapeno put onto his hands. The next thing you know, the juices are making his dick feel like it's on fire. And from personal experience with Tabasco or whatever, when you drink milk, here's a little scientific fact. Milk actually helps break down the proteins of something hot and spicy, unlike water, which kind of just washes over your tongue, and you're still feeling kind of in pain. So that scene just that was a good lighthearted moment. Second, from 2/3 on, it's straight up a horror movie, and you got the kind of crazy stuff going on. So, at one, give me a second here. So, during EVA 2, I forget what EVA stands for. Let's see, hang on. So with the other Apollo missions or whatever, EVA 1 goes okay, but they have a little trouble contacting Houston for some reason. EVA 2 obviously is a little bit worse because for some reason they can't contact Houston at all. And basically what's going on is there's an unknown source that's jamming their signal. Now that you'd think that it would be the quote unquote PSD-5s that Houston sent up with Apollo 18, but that's not the case. Excuse me. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but at one point in the movie, both Walker and Anderson find a Soviet LK proton lander, and no, I'm not referencing Ghostbusters. It's literally what the Soviets called their equivalent to the lunar module. One second. I get that now. Hold on. Okay. So the American astronauts, they find an LK proton lander. And yes, I did a little research, even though I'm drunk. The Soviets actually called this the LK proton lander. Let me get a picture for you. 1 second. LK proton lander. There we go. Okay. Images. Okay, this is just like a little. Wait, no, it's too small. Give me a second. I need to find a good size picture. Because from what I remember, doing a little bit of research on these things, the LK proton lander was like okay, there we go. Okay, give me 1 second. And I know there's someone backstage, but I'm just a little wary about inviting her in. Let me give me a second. Okay, let me do this. Share screen. There we go. So what you're looking at right here, this is the Soviet LK proton lander. And yes, I know that this looks a little interesting. This is actually a third the size of the American lunar modules. But this thing here makes a cameo appearance in Apollo 18. And the whole idea is that these LK proton landers were actually a single manned lunar module. Again, it's the Soviet answer to the Americans. And they never got these off the ground. They apparently either crash landed on Earth during test runs, or they just couldn't get them off the ground. No pun intended. But this one LK proton lander lands on the moon. And this does imply that even though after the Americans were able to get I think it was 6 lunar modules on the moon, the Russians or Soviets back in the day were able to at least get one of their own lunar modules on the moon. However, Nate Walker, Ben Anderson, they're walking around, and they unfortunately find the remains of a cosmonaut on the lunar surface. Depending on what scene you watch, if you got the DVD, he was either in the crater right next to the the LK lander, or he was partially buried by an unknown force. This raises a lot of questions, and Walker and Anderson start asking Houston, who's in control at the time, why is there a dead Soviet here on the moon, and you didn't tell us? But Houston, they said just continue with your mission. They were equally surprised, but at the same time, it's like, look, you got a mission to do, just finish it, and then we'll give you answers. So they tried to get away. Well, not get away. They tried to launch back up into orbit, but then let me look it up. Let me just double check. Liberty is the lunar module. Okay, so Liberty then suffers some kind of malfunction when they're trying to get away. You see one of the external cameras fall over and get dragged away, and all of a sudden all the alarms start going off in Liberty. Walker, who is the overall, what would the word be? He would be the commander, the commanding officer, the CEO, if you will. He goes to inspect. And then all of a sudden, like you saw in the trailer early on in this live stream, Walker, there's this weird spider creature that runs past his helmet, and I guess makes his way down to his gut, because next time we see him, he has a wound in his gut. And so Ben Anderson, being a good friend of Nate, decides to help him out. And he's struggling a little bit and eventually gets this rock out, which in truth is an alien something. I don't know if it's a parasite or if it's something else, but Ben's able to pull the alien rock out of Nate's body. He starts inspecting it, and then Nate hits it with a hammer, and you hear this little alien shriek as it gets killed. And I guess they understood it's some kind of infection. And meanwhile, there's another astronaut that isn't really... He's kind of like in the background. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's keep going. And I'm basically kind of explaining the whole synopsis of the movie. So there's a possible contamination in the lunar module Liberty. Meanwhile, Freedom's been orbiting around the moon, much like its predecessors. And Lieutenant Colonel John Gray, I forget who plays him. Let me look it up. Give me a second. Ryan Robbins. That's who played him. Ryan. Listen, what happens when you have a little too much. But don't worry, everybody. I'm fine. I'm not. I'll take a nap once this live stream is over. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Anyway, John Gray is orbiting in Freedom, the command module, and he has like a little bit of a nugget of information where it's like, you ever get the feeling that something's looking back at you? And it's like, well, maybe. But down on Earth, apparently, things are getting bad because Nate's been quote unquote infected with some kind of a, I guess, extraterrestrial infection. I don't know. But he becomes more paranoid, and I guess he's becoming more delusional. I don't know. But anywho, he gets more paranoid, and eventually he breaks the whole control panel. Nate does. Okay, I'm gonna let one or two people in, but I feel they're gonna get on to me because I've been drinking. I don't know. I'm just gonna wrap it up. Actually, I'm nothing against them. I'm gonna finish it up, and then if they want to be invited to tomorrow's live stream about the SCP Foundation, that's totally fine. Anyway, so Nate Walker, the let me look it up. Commander, that's it. He's just called Commander. Commander Walker, unfortunately, grows more paranoid. He grows more paranoid, and eventually he takes a hammer and he tries to destroy the cameras that are in the lunar module. But he accidentally hits the control panel, and he depressurizes the lunar module. And now that means that he basically, it means that the astronauts have to go to the Soviet LK that was seen earlier in the movie. And they make it. Well, Ben Anderson does. He's able to make it to the LK proton lander. Nate, however, gets pulled into a crater somehow. I don't know why, but somehow he gets pulled into a crater. And as Ben is trying to contact Houston, he has to go through, I believe it's the Soviet equivalent of the Department of Defense. But then the Deputy Secretary of Defense, who gets patched in, says that he's been incorrectly infected. And John and Ben both know that they're uninfected, and Nate has. And Nate shows up trying to breach the LK proton lander, but he dies because the alien rocks breach his head and make it explode, and he dies a horrible, miserable death. So Ben now has to go into he has to do a spacewalk, much like how the astronauts did back in the day, like Yuri Gagarin, who was a former cosmonaut, in order to get into the lunar module. However, the Deputy Secretary of Defense is claiming that Ben Anderson is infected, and they'll cease all radio operations, and that's not good, because when you're trying to get back into orbit, you got no one to talk to, and you're basically gonna be floating in the ocean even if you do make it. So both Ben and John know that that's not true. But once Ben makes it into orbit, some of the samples that the cosmonaut got wound up floating, and it turns out they're actually aliens. And there's the idea that the proton lander crashed with the command module, and then the footage just ends there. It kind of just abruptly cuts. But that's basically the end of it. It doesn't end on a happy note, so to speak. Well, kind of. Let's see. Where to start with this one? Well, honestly, like I said a couple times before, this is honestly my personal favorite found footage horror movie. There we go. It's my personal favorite found footage horror movie. Mainly because it focuses only on the astronauts. It doesn't focus on anyone else like the Paranormal Activity series. And it's consistent. It doesn't focus on anybody else. There's no other characters. I mean, aside from John Gray, who's in the command module. But yeah. I honestly think this is better than Paranormal Activity, mainly because, it focuses on two different people. Well, three. You know what I mean. I am going to show a clip, though, of the Russian Cosmonaut before I leave. Tomorrow, I'll be going over the SCP Foundation. Don't worry. I'll be much more sober for that one. But let me show you. They cut this particular scene out. I have no idea why. But I just thought, we don't need it. It's 30 seconds long, but it's the cosmonaut. Well, let's see what happens to him.
Я во внутреннем кратере. Я лунная аномалия. Их очень много, они везде. Они
So yeah, this was that what you just saw was a deleted scene, and there's a few. This one comes from Ghostface Scream 1. So Ghostface Scream 1, if you see this live stream, I only used your clip for entertainment purposes only. I just wanted to show that clip because that somehow didn't make it into the final cut. Basically, I would have liked to see what happened to the cosmonaut in this movie. Anywho, what would I rate Apollo 18? Honestly, I would say a 7 out of 10. There could have been a little more build up to what the villain could have been, and the fact that they decided to use that whole aliens bit, like that History Channel bit where it's like, oh, what's the reason? Aliens. Yeah, that's a little silly. But then again, it was an alien that disguised itself as a moon rock, so yeah, I guess they could have been thinking about the right thing. But anyway, it's a good movie. I would recommend it over Paranormal Activity any day. But yeah, this particular movie just stuck with me. This came out around the time I was graduating high school. Sorry that I was drunk. I was I wanted to do this kind of intentionally, really. I know plenty other YouTubers that get drunk, like the Great Clement. He did a couple of videos on, what was it, Sonic 3 Part 6. Great Clement did. Don't worry, I only wanted to do this once. I'm gonna be sober for the rest of these reviews, or taking a look at other stuff. Tomorrow I'll be taking a look at the SCP Foundation, and don't worry, I'll be plenty sober by the time that comes up. Anyway, Apollo 18. Would I recommend this for anybody, really? I also say yes. It's a decent movie. Yes, it has the cliches like Paranormal Activity. Wait, they compared it to a couple other well-known found footage movies. Oh yeah, Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, and Alien. So it got a little bit of flack, but it was all right. Though the main beef I have with this movie is how did the footage of Apollo 18 get all the way back to Earth? They obviously must have sent somebody up to do some kind of a reconnaissance mission in order to get this footage. That's like the only beef I have with Apollo 18, people. How do you get footage when you're out of money to send more people to the moon? God, I honestly know that I've been drunk this whole time, but I made my points. I talked about the movie, and what would I honestly say about this movie? Honestly, I like the fact that it is a found footage movie. Again, it's my personal favorite. It's done in the 70s, which is kind of silly, but then again, what isn't? It's paced pretty darn well. Oh my, it's paced all right. And the ending, it leaves much to be desired, but you can make your own conclusions. Did the command module pilot survive? Did he die along with Ben Anderson? And there's other endings as to how Ben Anderson died. He could have been killed in other ways. I won't spoil them for you. You have to find that for yourself. Anywho, I'm in G5. Yeah, I've been drinking a bit, but I did this intentionally. Don't worry, this is the only time in this month that I'm gonna be drunk while I'm doing an I almost said LP, like, let's play through. No, I'm not playing a video game. I tried doing that and it kept blinking. For the rest of these reviews, I will not be drunk. I'll be sober. Don't worry. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm gonna get some sleep in a minute. Try to feel better. Get some late dinner, late lunch, early dinner, whatever going afterwards. So tomorrow I'll be talking about the SCP Foundation. I know a couple of people are looking forward to that. And then after that, I'm going to be talking about some kind of local, which is the Queen Mary Dark Harbor. That's a fun attraction. It's a fun little horror attraction, which I've gone on at least once. It's been a while. But I want to do this. Why do I keep saying playthrough? I mean review. So yeah, that's Apollo 18 for you. It's a good movie. I would recommend it over Paranormal Activity. And yeah, have a good one, everybody. I promise to sober up for tomorrow or any videos I do after this, but stay healthy, everybody. I know that virus is still causing trouble. Have a good one, everybody. I'll go sober up now. Bye.